I was wondering if you could teach me a few words today in Spanish.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll just start with like the most simplistic sentence. Hello, my name is.
Okay.
So, for example, I would say, Hola, me llamo Kalia.
Hola, me llamo Morgan.
Okay. Good job.
Yay.
I don't know. Like, I hate when people ask me that question.
Yeah.
Because I never know, like, I'm like, okay, what do you want me to say?
What about, like, in Mexico, do they say, like, hi in a different way?
Well, I mean, basically, it's, like, generally it's the same, but, like, I guess they have variations. A good example would be, like, if you're, like, on the streets and so you saw somebody that you're, like, familiar with, you'd be like, ¿Qué onda? It'd be like,
¿Qué onda?
Or, I know a lot of Americans know, like, ¿Qué pasa? Like, it's the equivalent of, like, what's up?
Oh, okay. That's interesting. And then describe your experience to me about speaking to native speakers.
Usually for the most part, they understand what I'm saying. Sometimes because my first language isn't Spanish, like I'll put accents on different words, and then that'll just like change the meaning, and they won't understand what I'm saying. And usually they'll just ask me to repeat, but for the most part, they understand.
Okay, that's very interesting. We have 8 more questions for you. So, is there anything that could be helpful in making learning a second language easier?
I actually believe that in order to become fluent and to make it easier to learn a language, you need to look at like typical media that the speakers of that language look at every day, like music videos or television shows or even reading books in that language. But also, I think probably learning the language at a younger age.
I've read that too, like in textbooks and stuff, like learning it earlier. Do you remember what point you started to understand the language and what people were saying to you?
I'd say I became like relatively fluent, probably really at my freshman year in college, just because I had like professors who were able to better explain a lot of the errors that I was making when I was speaking.
Yeah, that's good. I remember in high school, like when we had to write in Spanish, that was awful. But at what point did you feel fluent speaking the language?
I mean, wait, did you just ask my question?
No, it's like a little bit different. Like, do you remember what point you started to understand the language? Was the one before?
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Shit. Okay, because that was basically my answer for that one. Okay, my bad.
Can we stop this? just keep going, because I'll just cut that part out.
Okay. So we'll start. You want to start with number 2?
Sure. That was.
Do you remember at what point you started to understand the language and what people were saying to you?
Okay.
Do you remember at what point you started to understand the language and what people were saying to you?
Probably. I'd say probably like around like the 5th year that I had learned the language is when like I began to like understand what people were saying to me. I couldn't necessarily like speak back to them, but I could have a general understanding of what they were saying.
Okay, and then from there, at what point did you feel fluent speaking Spanish?
Okay, and I felt fluent speaking Spanish probably around my freshman year in college, because I had professors to explain the errors that I was making a lot better than my teachers before in high school.
When first learning the language, did you have a lot of opportunity to speak, or did you begin by mostly listening and writing?
Initially, yes, I did have a lot of opportunities to speak Spanish when I first started learning it, because we lived in Texas, and there were a lot of people that spoke Spanish down there. And also I lived in Nashville, Tennessee. There were a lot of people that spoke Spanish there. There were a lot of Cubans and a lot of people from Mexico. So there definitely. And then when I moved to Ohio, because I live in Columbus, there weren't so many people. Yeah. So there, no. But in Tennessee and Texas, definitely.
Did you have the opportunity to work with native speakers as you were first learning the language, people other than your teacher?
Yes, a lot of my neighbors spoke Spanish, and my mother.
I'm sure that made it much easier.
Yeah.
And then, since you are studying a language, do you plan to study abroad in the country where your language is dominant?
Yes, I am looking forward to either studying in Honduras, that's where I really want to go, or to Mexico.
Do you have like a certain year? Are you gonna go your junior year? Or you're not sure yet.
I'm planning on going my junior year during second semester, but that's to be seen. But that's the plan for now.
And so then you'll live with like a host family.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. And then, do you feel the language you are learning will have an impact on our society?
Definitely.
Is it okay if it's black?
Oh my god. Yes.
Okay, we're gonna start from that. Do you feel the language you are learning will have an impact on our society?
Definitely, because with the increasing number of Spanish-speaking immigrants to the U.S. each year, I don't see how as a society how we would be able to help them. Maybe not necessarily assimilate, but become like acclimated to the doings in a society if we don't learn their language. Because they definitely make an effort to learn English.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then, do you feel they should teach a second language to kids at an earlier age?
Definitely, because the earlier you learn a language, the easier it is to become fluent at it as you get older.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us today.
Oh, no problem.
Do you almost fell out on my computer?
Almost on that.